Hi guys, if you don't know me yet, my name is Jules. I'm the youth pastor here at Johnson. And I am coming to you with kind of a midweek devotion this week. So this devotion comes from this book by John Mark Comer. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And if you haven't heard me talk about it yet, you will, because this book has absolutely changed my life, as much of John Mark Comer's work has. And so I just wanted to come to you guys with a little inspiration that I've had these past couple weeks from the Spirit through John Mark Comer's work and through this idea of eliminating the hurry in our lives. And so this book was written as a kind of a way to combat the hurriness that we as a society, we as people, as human beings, that we find ourselves in. This idea that we are so booked with work or things outside of work that we spend so much time on our cell phones. We spend so much time watching TV. We spend so much time in things other than rest that we live these super hurried lives. And because of that, we don't often have time for rest, real deep physical, spiritual rest. We don't have time for worship. We don't make time to spend with the Lord. And so this book argues that hurried life keeps us from living the way that God intended. And so he writes about 4 different disciplines that we can practice to combat those things. And one of them is silence and solitude, which has really stuck with me lately. Because I don't know if you know this, but I absolutely hate being alone. I mean, I hate it. Fun fact, I once took a personality test and it said I was 98% extroverted, which just shows that I hate being alone. I draw my energy from being with people. And so this idea of silence already is very uncomfortable to me. But the idea of being alone and silent is just horrifying. And so as I've been reading, there's been things that have really stuck out to me, that have really stuck with me. And I found a lot of encouragement. And specifically from this one part, this one idea of Jesus in the wilderness. And so if you're familiar with the story, Jesus in his ministry was led into the wilderness, or into the desolate place is what it's also called, to be tempted by the devil. And so he was there for 40 days and 40 nights, praying and fasting, and being tempted by the enemy. And so I don't know about you guys, but growing up and even until very recently, I had always viewed the wilderness or this desolate place as just the worst thing possible. And I know that I've heard 1,000 sermons about the Spirit leading Jesus into the desolate place. And just what a reminder that is, that the Spirit does oftentimes lead us into hard things. And while I absolutely still think that that's true, the way that John Mark Comer writes about the wilderness has really stuck with me because I think that it's such an interesting perspective. And so I just want to read a little bit about what he says about the wilderness. He says, if you've been reading the Bible from Genesis up to Matthew, you get that Jesus has to go toe-to-toe with the devil. The protagonist must face the bad guy to end all bad guys. Evil has to be defeated. You get it. But why in the wilderness? Why alone? Why after 40 days of fasting when he's hungry? For years, this story made no sense to me because I thought of the wilderness as a place of weakness. I read it this way. Isn't that so like the devil to come at us at the end of a long day or a long week when we're hangry and at our worst? But then I realized I had it backwards. The wilderness isn't the place of weakness, it's the place of strength. Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness because it was there and only there that Jesus was at the height of his spiritual powers. It was only after a month and a half of prayer and fasting in the quiet place that he had the capacity to take on the devil and to walk away unscathed. That's why over and over again, you see Jesus come back to the desolate place. And so my jaw literally dropped when I read that. This idea that the wilderness, this desolate place that Jesus often retreats to, is not this place of weakness, but it's actually a place of strength where because of Jesus' ability and the time and space given to him to pray and to fast and to be with God is the reason that he can defeat the enemy, that he can go through 40 days of being tempted and come out still sinless. And that's kind of rocked my world because, like I said, I've always been terrified of the wilderness. And if I'm being honest, I feel like I have been in the wilderness these past couple months. I know I shared a little bit with you guys last time, but I mean, these is just, they've sincerely been the worst couple months of my entire life for a lot of personal reasons. And I just felt like I had been led into just a really desolate, dark place. And I really thought that it was a place of weakness where it was like, this is just the hand I've been dealt right now. And it's really hard and it really sucks. And the wilderness sucks. And it's just a terrifying place to be. And reading this, my whole perspective changed because it doesn't change the fact that I'm in the wilderness. But it changes the fact that it changes the idea that I can't do anything about it. And brings this idea that Jesus was led there, but it was also his greatest place of strength. And that while, yes, I was led into the wilderness, into just a really hard season in life, it also is a place that I've been given space and been given the mind to see the Lord and to spend time with him and to really kind of build up in prayer and build up in fasting and these things, so that I can be strengthened, in order to walk through this season of life stronger and braver. And so, yeah, that's my own life personally, just with things that I've been dealing with. But I also feel like as a society, I feel like it's a relatable thing to be feeling like we're in the desert right now or in a desolate place, not being able to be in the world as we have been before. And I think that looks different for everybody. But just this idea that this wilderness that we find ourselves in, whatever your wilderness might look like, doesn't have to be a place of weakness and a place to be afraid of, but can actually be a place where we draw our strength, where we build up our faith. And when we see ourselves fighting bravely for good and for Jesus and, for ourselves in that way. And so, like I said, this book comes with my highest recommendations, as does, honestly, every other book I've read by John Mark Comer. And so if you have any questions about this book or about Pastor John Mark, please email me or call me. I would love to chat about it. But I just pray that this week that you would be able to find yourself rooted in Christ, rooted in strength, and that you'd be able to find yourself in silence and solitude maybe, or whether you're in the middle of the desert, that you would find yourself being built up in that time and not weakened. And so that's my prayer for you guys. It's really great seeing you guys on Sunday, and I will see you